5, member O'Flaherty, discussion for possible action, clarification of fire hydrant fees. I guess since we didn't have a utility board meeting, I don't know what Mr. O'Flaherty's been saying here. We don't even need a motion to repeal, I believe. Okay, move on to items for discussion, possible action, only within the city council. New business. 1. City council members, city engineer Almberg, discussion for possible action, approval of land swap for the land owned by the White Pine County, land owned by White Pine, associated with the golf course well, and land owned by the city of Ely across from the Oak City shop on East 13th Street.
I believe you guys have a diagram in your packet. As directed by you guys, myself and Kevin Briggs had met with the county multiple times over this issue. It was this, what we were trying to do was to try to get our golf course well, which is located on county property. We were trying to secure that property back in the city. We met multiple times. The county had, they come and started with us and had quite a few lists of items that they wanted to incorporate into this negotiation or to get out of this. One of them you guys have already taken care of, and I've already told you that before, was the fees on the connection fees for the swimming pool. And that was one, so that quickly came off of their list. Another one that was on their list is they wanted to, once the pool was up and running, potentially split the monthly water bill with the city, since they're concerned that city residents would also be swimming in there. We basically said at this point in time, I don't think it would be the best interest for the city to come in here, because we take that monthly fees and we maintain our system with that. And it's also the other thing, we have no idea how much water they're going to use monthly. So we would be talking and discussing something that's potential, or we don't know what it is. The other one that came up was they wanted down there at the golf course, when it is our desire to get a fill station built and constructed down there, that the county would be able to, if there need to come and fill up their water trucks, they would be able to come and use that fill station at no charge. That basically, all of these negotiated items that they brought up were basically dropped down to what we finally came to somewhat of an agreement on was, in this exhibit was, they come and said, hey, we'll give you additional land outside of the fenced area of the golf course well down there that you can use, because we would like you to enter off of the county road, go in, fill, and then enter back on the county road, and not be just pulling off the edge of the county road. So we come, we prepare these exhibits. Based on what we prepared here, the well is on approximately 13,000 square foot lot, and the additional area that we would pick up is approximately 16,000 square feet, where we could come to create a fill station. Trucks could come in and turn around. In exchange for that, they were requesting on the opposite, on the back side of that sheet, was the city's property down across the street from the shops that the city is no longer used. They were requesting in exchange for that. One thing that I do want to say as part of the negotiation, the county come in and they felt that they owned the well because it was on their property. During these discussions, we brought up to them, it says, well, we have a deed for that well. There's obviously a mistake that was made, but we have a deed that was from the mine where it turned over directly to the city. So I don't know, that would be Rich to answer who owns that well, but we have a deed for that well. So that's the way we discussed it in that negotiations. So basically what was agreed upon, that I would come back to the city council, present this of basically doing this land swap with picking up the golf course with 13,000 plus or minus square feet of the golf course well, the additional 16,000 square feet of the land to build our fill station on. In exchange for that, we would in turn exchange them our shop property, parking lot across the street from the old city shops down there. Their desire for that piece of property is, because they recently purchased the Daily Times building to move some of their staff down there. There's just a need for parking down there, something that they could use along with that facility. So that was our tentative agreement that we basically came up with on our negotiating team. They took it back to County Commission. County Commission, and I believe that Marnie was there, backed me up on this, but County Commission voted in concept of this. I don't think they voted to officially do it, but they voted in concept of this agreement. I believe probably that meant to me that concept was they didn't want to agree to something until potentially you guys agreed in concept with it also.
Should we agree in concept?
No.
I think we can just do it now.
I mean, my feeling is that we have some land that we aren't using, and the county has land that they aren't using. And I don't think we should get in trade the county inch for inch or square foot for square foot. It's the idea that we give them something that's we're assisting each other. We can give them something they can use. We're not it's not a ball.
Yes.
It's not
But we are using that building that's on that property.
No, it's in the doors are open.
Well,
We have used it recently.
Well, they told me they were, Ron was telling me they stored their seal crack machine in there and all the sealant,
The chemicals.
you know, all the, to do the roads. What happened to the idea about getting the property back when they're done with it?
Well,
That would be hasn't been brought up in the negotiation.
Well, it's across from the city shop. You're in the city shop.
The building's on that property. It's a little garage.
It's across from the city shop.
Have you been down there? There's a garage.
There's an old garage. It's
The only, as legal counsel, if I could just address this, the only thing that I would be concerned about is that if you have a building that contains or has contained or might have contained or somebody transported hazardous materials, and you give it away, you make sure you give it away, and they take all the potential liability for those hazardous materials that live in their garage. For however many years they've been there, along with the transportation liability, etc.
Do we have any idea of the commercial value of the two properties involved?
no, nobody did an estimate of either one because, and this is why we talked about negotiations. We have a piece of property that the city council decided 2 years ago that we had no desired use for. When we built the shop at the dumps, they said that shop would hold everything that would be the city need. Between there and what's over at the sewer treatment plant. That was worthless. We didn't need it. And in the past, we had a well dug on county property.
That's real funny.
So we actually did. Whoever decided that was our property was in there. So I mean, it's basically, and we talked a lot about. We don't want to get in with the county, and I agree with it because I was there. But we don't want to get dollar for dollar because who knows what.
I'm just curious.
No, because we'd have to pay for them to be appraised, and commercial property is extremely expensive.
The thing I was just interested in is if we're, taking something that's worth $10,000 and giving away something that's worth $100,000.
Well, I would think that where our well is probably worth quite a bit of money, guys.
But how can you appraise a little piece of golf course?
Well, it's not even on there. It's
It's
outside.
on those separate parcels.
It's on a separate parcel.
I have a question. This is directed at the attorney. Before I ask the question, I'm going to say that I'm in favor of this swap. does not have an intention to use. The county needs it. The county has a piece of property, the city put a well on. It only makes sense to swap. The purpose of the property down by the Times Building is to serve the Times Building. The county needs that parking. They want that area. Their plans for the Times Building, of course, are uncertain. None has ever crystal ball, but at the present time, it sounds like they intend to not occupy that building forever. And my question is this: can we arrange such a swap with reversionary language that states that if either side, either the city or the county, does not need the property any longer, it reverts back to the original owner?
Yes.
That would be my motion.
I think that we would want to have you include in that motion what I was thinking, attorney, is
Yeah.
about hazardous materials.
Okay. And I also say one other thing is, on this property that we're looking to swap, there is a monitoring well in there. So we want to make sure that we reserve access,
Retain an easement.
retain an easement or something to that, so that that continues to be monitored.
Okay, is that easement held by the mine?
The mine does the monitoring on it.
Okay,
And
and
so,
the city is committed to allow them to continue to use that. So the county would be bound by that same obligation.
yeah, I would just come in and just make sure that that's part of the motion, saying that we still allow, further obligate the next owner, I guess, that is allowed to get in there and monitor that.
And Mr. Chairman, if I can raise a point of order.
Yes.
There are two kinds of reversions. Okay? There's a power of reverter and there's a simple reversion. Power of reverter means that if, in fact, either party stops using the parcel for the intended purpose, the other party has a right to demand, okay, that the property comes back. For example, that's what exists on the railroad fees from Kennecott, called the power of reversion. The other one is a reversion. It's more like a lease. If you stop using it, it automatically goes back to the other party, and no demands have to be made. So if I'm going to draft a reversion, or the DA is going to draft a reversion, it's helpful to know which kind of thing you want it to do. You want it to happen automatically, or do you want notice and demand for the return of property to exist in the document?
I think we were talking about if they sold it.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it's sort of worthless now, but if they sold the Times Building, and they sold it with a parking lot, it's worth a lot more than if they just sold the Times Building. And since the parking lot would be worth more if it was a parking lot than if it's just a junk collector for the city.
My hunch would be the attorney for the other side would seek the same sort of thing with respect to these tracts. And you probably want to make it as mutual as you could, so that if, in fact, the well was sold or the well was abandoned for any reason, then the city's interest in those two things would also automatically stop.
That would be the idea.
I understand. Thank you. Any second on that motion? I'll second. You need any public comment on that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I have a big concern on this thing. I brought up in the past, who surveyed that item? Errors and omissions. Why does it always come back to the taxpayer? You paid a qualified individual big money to take care of a job and they failed. Now you're asking possible trade. I have a big concern on that. Offer them what it's worth. I don't believe the county paid for any water that's being used at the golf course. How much is the taxpayer supposed to give away? I don't know if they paid a hookup fee. And yet you have such horrendous charges for new hookups for businesses. You're pushing them out of this community. We're down a little over 4,000 people. And yet we're supposed to backtrack. the Times building should never have been purchased. The county knew what they were going to do. Why should we rectify their misguidance? They'll never get rid of that building. They don't even know what it's going to cost to remodel. They're into it $385,000, and they're saying maybe $200,000 to remodel. I heard as high as $390,000. You will never get that money back. You have an obligation to the taxpayer. You talked about this fill station, but originally when the railroad came before you and you gave them $100,000 gift for a hookup, the fill station was supposed to be down there. Now we're talking about building a new one. At what point does the taxpayer stop bleeding? Why would you want to send people 2 miles out of town to fill up a water tank when you've got a situation down on Avenue A? You need to rethink this thing. Again, I'd like to know who surveyed that, and I want you to go after their errors and omissions. It isn't the taxpayer's duty to pay for those mistakes.
Any other public comment? None. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Moving on, number 2. Council members Setterstrom and Burbidge. Discussion for possible action, approval of contract between the City of Ely and the operating engineers local number 3, representing the City of Ely General Bargaining Unit. Contract is for 1 year. We basically, in our contract from last year, changed a few wordage and verbiage throughout the contract. They got a 3% raise.
And 1% of that goes into PERS.
Well, no, not one. Well, it doesn't. PERS is increasing the employee contribution. So,
The 3% doesn't go on the employee's check, correct?
gross
Is
it
that-
does.
Oh, gross it does.
But they pay 1 more percent
Right.
to the
PERS.
10%. So the union already agreed on it.
So we just need a motion to approve it. Or accept it.
You can do that.
I'll make a motion to accept the union contract with operating engineers local 3.
Second.
Okay, any public comment on this? No public comment, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Number 3, Marty, Councilman Weston, discussion of possible action, negotiation of terms with the White Pine County School District for the use of Broadbent Park.
Very quickly, and then, is there someone here from the school district? I hope there would be,
I have, but not on this.
and I expect you to abstain.
I
don't think you should.
shall. I
No,
will
no,
anyway.
I don't think you should.
Otherwise, in trouble. I'm abstaining.
What the agenda item speaks for itself. The school district, White Pine County School District, used to use Broadbent Park and used to pay us an appreciable amount of money for the use of it. The city, I'm speaking from my own history now, the city wanted more, and at a certain point, the school district said, no, we're out. They've come back. Paul Johnson and Bob Knowles all approached me asking whether the city would entertain allowing use of Broadbent Park, and I think it was specifically for junior high football practice, although I don't know that we would define exactly how they would use it. And I hope that they would be here to suggest a number that they might be comfortable with. I don't know what they had paid in the past. Do we have that information or not?
10,000 in the past.
I don't think they ever paid 10,000. I think they had offered up to that at some point, and the city may have wanted more.
Did they ever send a formal request?
No, there has been no formal request put to us that I know of, unless they got something.
I think we should wait till they give us a formal request.
Okay. I wish I would be more comfortable
Any public comment on this?
Motion to table.
Motion to table. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Moving on, number 4, Council Centerstone, Ely City Corral Association, President Jan Tyner. Discussion for possible action and consideration to waive arena water fees for the Ely City Corral Association.
Is Pat not here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is, a few months back, the Corral Association asked that we give them rights over the arena. And we refused and said that that's a public arena, that anybody's allowed to use it. The association came back and said, well, they're paying a water bill for it. There's 2 water bids, hose outlets by the arena, and they're paying $42.66 a month to the city for inside water. I don't know if that's I don't know why it's inside water, but there's no inside water there. So they're asking that it be treated like any other park, public area, that they don't have to pay for the water. They don't use much of it.
I would be surprised if 20 gallons a month come out of those faucets.
Just for clarification, there are people that are not corral lessees that use this water.
Yes.
Okay.
We have,
The corrals, correct me if I'm wrong.
each corral has their own pump.
Each one has its own well. So the usage here is usage by the public that is
Yes.
visiting the arena.
Yes, and we do, at times, we have quite a few that come from outlying areas.
Well, basically what you're saying is the Corral Association no longer wants to pay the water bill for the public use.
Well, I think we've established that this is a public use area. The corrals are leased, but the arena, the common area, is open to the public, and I would move that we treat it as a park and stop charging the Corral Association for this water.
I'll second.
Any public comment on this? Thank you.
You folks need to collect the fees,
From who?
whoever's accessing it.
Let me just talk.
Your accountants have always said you have to show a true reflection of the cost of doing business. And that includes any water fees or sewer fees or landfill fees, or you letting all of those go too. You've got to be consistent. The schools pay water, sewer, landfill. So do the county offices. All citizen-owned facilities. True reflection of the cost of doing business. I don't like it any more than you do. You guys got me cut off. I pay every damn month. And you can't just give things away. That's discrimination. You need to stop. You don't like the fees? Reduce them for everybody. That's all. That's the bottom line. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any more public comment?
I have a question. Do we have any other public parks out there or other public access points that have water available to them? And if so, then who is paying for that?
The city pays for it. Broadbent Park, if you want a water hose.
So we've got water hooked up there as well, and the city pays for that?
Yes.
So then if it's inconsistent that if it's a public use area, the city's paying for it. It's, how many other public use areas do we have for water? Do we have rivers that are parked by us?
That's county.
Oh, good. Never heard about that.
Can we have a motion and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay, number 5, Council Citizen, discussion for possible action, consideration to approve the installation of ice skating rink at the northeast corner of Altman and Mill Street, and to donate water for it.
What we're looking for is if we get this going, they want to put an ice skating rink on the corner of Mill and Alton. And there's a fire hydrant right there, and they were wondering if the city would donate the water.
Who's they that wants to put this in on this?
It's just a group of people.
Oh.
Not even sure it's going to go through.
Well, I don't think we can give that's private land, and that's not the same as the park. That's
No,
my.
I agree, but I was asked.
I just have a comment. I would, if someone was going to do this, I would have to know for certain that their endeavor would be open to the public. You know, if the city's going to be providing water, I would much rather see something done on one of the parks or city property if it's at all possible, so we have a community ice skating rink.
I wonder who they are.
It's just a group of people, Bert from Hotel Nevada was one, that are starting to put stuff together, and they're just looking for different things. One of them was the water.
The thing about putting it in
Yeah.
county Crawford, don't know me. The thing about putting it on city property is then it becomes city liability,
I understand.
and that might,
I'm old fashioned. I grew up in a town where they had it.
well, I know it.
I'd like to get-
it. That's a big problem in the Morris liability. As soon as somebody gets hurt, they're gonna.
So
Well, thank you.
are they putting things together, assuming liability then?
No, but
Well, if it's on private
The group
property.
people are-
there's-
That's what I'm saying, it's on private property, they're taking liability, are they not?
yes.
Okay.
Maybe we should table it until we know. I move to table this until we know more about it.
I think you better know a little bit more about it. Oh, do you know which lots you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, let's hear who owns them.
Well, we're in the early stages right now, so we're just starting to bring everything together.
Okay, the very corner lot belongs to, excuse me, I've been sitting too long, but all belongs to Callahan's.
We were talking about the lot in the middle of the two.
Okay, then there's two more lots. That's Gus Langus,
Right.
and he just passed away.
Well, we've been talking to his brother.
Okay. And then, do you know what the next three lots who they belong to?
No.
Okay, you're back to the Callahans again. And then you have, Google building right there where Christie's in the, insurance business and everything else, the white building. Then you have Bill Flangus on the other side where the pawn shop is at. Okay, then you have kind of a vacant spot right there, and then you have Gus Flangus, that's him, and on the very corner where the old Ace of Clubs was. And what you have is, for the past 13 years, is right around 2000. That back alley there was originally oil, that and all the alleys down through there, so there would be drainage to go down through there. And right now, drainage from up on Ely Street comes down there and it splits on High Street both directions, comes down, and it goes right into that property. And then it goes down to the east end of the block, and you have drop-ins down there for the water. In the meantime, the city, they had a big campaign on, and they filled the alleys full with gravel. And filled up. And the property owners right through there, and especially Gus on the very corner, and the Google property right there, and Bill Flangus, that water wants to come back into those buildings. But we're high enough that, and I've moved it by hand and everything else, so it doesn't drain into there. Now, this other property, who's going to maintain it? This group you're talking about? What are they going to do the other 11 months out of the year?
It's actually only going to be for 2 months. And Ernie was talking, said he would get permission from the other owners. Patricia Fewer was getting plastic and railroad ties donated. They're looking at putting something up for the month of December and January. After January, take it all down. It's all a temporary thing.
Okay, you're going to have seepage and leakage. And every time you go to fill it, you're going to overfill it. And that water runs downhill. That's what we discussed about sewer and everything else. And it'll go down against our building down there. And there's a chance you're going to sink these things. And then you go right across the street where your pizza deal is. I assume you have a basement over there. I know there's one in the old Zava building, and